how'd you get started?
Oh, I mean, I feel like I did the same grinding that you did, but just a tad different, right? So, of course, I did all the books, and all the podcasts, and YouTube. I'm still kind of doing those things. It's just that the actual work that I'm doing with real estate is taking the place of a lot of the book time. But when I first started, I didn't have any properties, so it was all Audible and YouTube and podcast. I lucked out and I jumped into it with my dad. And I know you've heard this story as well. I mean, I love your story because it's how powerful to see that person's countdown to the end of their retirement in their 60s. And if you're lucky, I mean, let's just imagine for a day that you have a pension, which by the way is just like unheard of these days. You're getting paid $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 after working your entire life. I think your story it's just great because that's extremely powerful. For me, it was a tad different. I always wanted to do it. I know you've heard this, but I did the whole rich dad poor dad thing during law school, and I couldn't bring myself to invest during school. I mean, I was living at home and I was in two schools, being law school, and I was at night, I was in grad school, and I was in the military and ROTC, and I just, now knowing what I'm capable of and what we've been able to do, I think it was possible for sure. Maybe I didn't need to be living at home. Maybe I could have house hacked or something, I don't know what I would have done then, but at the time it just seems so overwhelming. But certainly Rich Dad Poor Dad made it click, and I was like, wow, I mean, I can't believe I'm working towards this and still not knowing if I'll have passive income coming in. I just couldn't do it. So my start didn't happen until unfortunately for me, I didn't read a book on January 1st and then buy my first place on April. I read my book. I knew I had this like voice in the back of my head telling me I need to invest for like 5 years. And 2013 is when I got my law job, and things were a slow start with the law job, and things weren't necessarily going to skyrocket from there. And so I said, well, I think a perfect time to start is now. Now, my law career certainly escalated, or I had a great opportunity and I was successful almost immediately, but almost immediately within the law job, within the first 2 years, it was very clear the ceiling was there. And I was like, holy cow, like I can work my tush off and run out of opportunities to make money. And so like, that's when I was like, we need to start doing more and more of this real estate stuff. And so I started with my dad and doing the single family stuff, and I was a little slower. I was doing all the work myself. Did you work yourself?
So I wasn't swinging a hammer. I was changing locks. I was doing pest control. I was doing all my evictions. You would love this. I was doing all my entity paperwork. I do not advise anybody to do that. That's a bad idea.
Terrible.
I was also doing all my own bookkeeping. Once again, terrible idea. But no, I wasn't swinging a hammer. I was doing all the clean outs of units. I remember that was fun, especially, 2 children, having a full-time job, going and checking on a unit over lunch, hoping the resident's out of there, and I'd be moving couches and beds and, finding buddies with trucks to help me load up and go to the dump. So,
But you have to do that.
You absolutely have to.
I'm not trying to say get your hands dirty and beat your chest later so you can tell everybody what you did, but it's extremely difficult in my opinion. And forgive me, like maybe, I'm sure we'll have guests on here that'll say, day one, I bought my first 235 unit property. And I feel as though it's relatively difficult if you're going to do everything yourself, which is what we have done. We have built business and businesses that have scaled and done absolutely everything internally. Maybe day one you could start as a capital raiser. Maybe day one you could start with just walking around trying to find deals and then trying to find other people who could help you take it down. But the way we did it, by doing everything ourselves, I feel like you have to get your hands dirty, not only so you can learn so much, but so that you know what to expect out of the people you trust to do it.